should just shove it in the hole, from what I understand. Volvo part on a Jaguar. Ta-da! Other than this blue. Nobody likes that. So we're working on the upgrade kit for the water pump, because usually there's a plastic pipe right here that snaps right off. And so what we ended up buying was the brass fitting. It comes with the O-ring right there. I'm not sure if it's visible. The plastic retainer and then the brass fitting. So we're gonna try to fit that in place. Now when you're trying to replace this, there's gonna be a bunch of plastic in there. You wanna do the best that you can to not have that plastic go into the water pump. I used some pliers and then a drill bit so that when I'm drilling the plastic, it's coming out away from the water pump. That seemed to have worked pretty well. That's kind of the only thing I can really suggest. How this was situated in there, first there was the O-ring, so it's all the way in there. Then this plastic retainer, might be a little hard to see. And then on top of all that, the brass fitting was pushed in. So what we'll do next, I'm gonna lubricate this, the O-ring, put it in there, shove in the plastic retainer, and then put the brass fitting in. So I assume you just kind of push this O-ring in, grab a tool, and then just make sure that O-ring seats itself fully in there. There is a ridge inside the hole up against where the O-ring will be seated. Let me see if we can zoom in on that. So I cranked up the brightness, but you should be able to see that little O-ring right there, just the hint of it. But that sits up against the ridge inside the brass fitting there. So next step is to pop in this plastic retainer. You can see it has like metal teeth. I assume that's just so it doesn't back out. The O-ring's in there, and I'm going to try to hammer this in using a 3/8 extension. Okay, that's now in there. And then you take the brass fitting. You should just shove it in the hole, from what I understand. And then this plastic retainer is what actually grabs onto the brass fitting. Okay, that seems to be it. Will this seal? We will see. But this is the repair kit for the water pump. Next up, we're gonna get the transmission ready for bolting back onto the engine. We don't have the subframe out yet, but we can still prepare this guy. So we're gonna replace the slave cylinder / throwout bearing. It's one unit. And all that it's held in place with is a bolt right here. That's an 8mm. And the slave cylinder hydraulic line, which is just comes from the brake reservoir. But first, let's clean this housing. This is ridiculously dirty. Okay, it's a lot cleaner now, so let's move on. Here's the new part. It is from FType. There's the box for it. Anyways, what I found interesting, this is the aftermarket option, but this is the OEM FType part, and it actually says Volvo right where this serial number is stamped in. So that's kind of funny. Volvo part on a Jaguar. Isn't Volvo part of GM? Was it part of GM at the time? Who? No, I'm stupid. Anyways, let's get to it. Oh no! Brake fluid, no! So when you pull that off, make sure to be ready for some brake fluid. And then the part just slides right off. Get the new one. Beep bop boop. I guess. Let's clean up this a little bit. Okay, new part. Whoop. Slides right in. Pop the clutch line in. Or throwout bearing line. Should just clip in place. You take the clip that you popped out to get that hose off. Clips right back in. Take the 8mm bolt you undid earlier. Undid. Screw it in. The torque spec for this 8mm bolt that holds the slave cylinder / throwout bearing is 10 Newton meters. There we go. So now if you're asking why we replaced it, listen to this. Now listen to this. You hear my gloves more than anything. Okay. That's all the work we're doing on the transmission. Look everyone, I'm an AJ126. And then I just seize solid. So now what we're gonna do is remove the wheel, remove the brake caliper bracket, and set it aside, probably zip tie it like we did last time, and then remove the 18mm on the top of the spindle going to the upper control arm. Once that is undone, that means the suspension, on this side at least, is ready to go, and we'll repeat that process on the other side as well. Once that's done, we will then move underneath the car and undo the bolts holding the subframe in place. And with that, the subframe will then be dropped on the lift table. Once on the lift table, we can pull it out, put the engine on the subframe, put the transmission on the subframe, and then pull it back into the car and go up into the car. So now it's just probably going to be a montage, speeding through everything. I think it'll be interesting, but yeah, let's get moving. There's a lot of work and I'm trying to get it done. Hopefully by the morning. We need to register the car. Okay. So what we'll have to eventually do is to also replace the upper control arm. We'll probably do that on the other way, so not right now. Let's just focus on getting that engine in place. Okay. Woo. Junk. As we did last time, vice grip. Okay, on to the other side. Now time to undo the strut top nuts. Now the right side. I am currently where the home of a new AJ126 is going to be. Very exciting. Anyways, the one last thing that we had to undo with the subframe was the steering linkage. I hooked that back up because of us pushing the car out of the bay. It is a 10mm bolt. You undo it and you pull the shaft off. Just like in the previous video 3, 4, 7, 9, I don't know. And I think we're pretty much ready to pull the subframe. We have the bolt right here, right there, I think that's 21, I think this is a 15, I don't remember. I will have the specs listed in the video somewhere. Okay, now I'm gonna lower it, get the lift table ready, kind of position wood where it needs to be just so this stays level, and then get the engine on the subframe, get the trans on the subframe, and let's go back up in. So good stuff, exciting. Okay, so the craziest thing just happened. The reason I went back down was because I had a ground wire that caught on a stud. Like, just perfectly laid itself right into the stud. And then it started yanking the subframe up. So, when you're pulling a subframe, just go slow, make sure everything is clear, because you don't want to break an electrical connection somewhere. Ta-da! Next up, we're lifting the engine and we're going to place it onto the subframe. The only points on which the engine sits on the subframe are the engine mounts, so one on this side, one on that side. So we're going to lift it up off the engine stand. I'm going to pull this pin out, which I just did. And so I'm going to leave this red part on the back because I actually have this ratchet strap hooked to the bell housing bolts that I'm using at the moment. Shouldn't impede any progress of getting it onto the subframe. Once it's on there, we'll unbolt this and then work on the flywheel and clutch assembly. Also, no one asked me how I did this. It took way too long for me to figure it out. Okay, engine is on the subframe. Now that we have the engine on the subframe and off the engine stand, we're going to work on bolting on the flywheel. Whenever replacing the flywheel or removing it from the crankshaft, you do have to replace all 10 of these Torx bolts. That's per specification. On the flex plate, so if you have an automatic, the flex plate, you can reuse the bolts 3 times. And to help me torque down these bolts, I'm going to remove, I think this is the crankshaft position sensor, and mount up the locking tool that comes with the timing tool set. Other than that, I hope you enjoy the blue on the back of the bell housing. I actually asked the people from who we bought the engine, and they say this is just so they know if the engine has been mounted onto a vehicle for warranty reasons. On top of that, they also have some metal plugs that are put on. I think they're just glued onto the block, but if the engine is overheated, the adhesive breaks off and then those plugs fall off. And it's just interesting, just ways people are protecting each other from getting scammed, right? Someone puts this in, overheats it, wants a warranty. It's not really fair to them. When mounting on the flywheel, there is a dowel pin on the crank, and then there is a hole on the flywheel, and that's another instruction that's specifically stated in the Jaguar manual to eye that hole, just so you're not struggling with it too much and trying to get it all aligned. Let's bolt this on. Why are you like this? Gotta put the Gotta put the brakes on. Nothing worse than trying to line up something pretty tricky and then the whole thing just slides away from you. Ugh. And not just that, you have these super sharp teeth and it's just not fun. You don't want to cut yourself. Come on. Oh. Oh, this is stupid. Oh, yep, this is stupid. This is stupid. Where's my hammer? That's seriously it? Oh, what the heck? Okay, let's do this one more time because we had multiple things going on there. But yeah, it doesn't sit that deep in there. I was just making sure that the crankshaft might be different, but nope. I'm just being a wimp. Okay. Ugh, so heavy. And then your fingers get pinched too. So. Okay. This is apparently on. Let's get a bolt in. No! Stop moving. Haha! No more moving on me, please. Sorry that took longer than expected, but... Alright. If you're buying these bolts, the part number on them is T2R15200. Let's see if that'll focus. So those are the flywheel bolts. They are different than the automatic flex plate bolts. Now that we want to torque these 10 flywheel bolts, we have to undo the T30 bolt for the crankshaft position sensor. So just get a T30 and take it off. Throw in the locking tool. It uses the same bolt. To put in the locking tool, we need to rotate the engine. I assume it has to go to 40 degrees on the front crankshaft. So let's just do that. Oh, missed it. It's right there. Has he gone too far? Okay. I got it in. I convinced it to go in. Okay. With the flywheel lock in place, or flex plate lock, whatever, it doesn't matter. We are going to torque all 10 of these. We're going to torque all 10 of these T55s. There is a torque sequence, and I will pull it up right now. Is this recording? Yeah. We got the torque sequence. I'll put it up on the page as well, or on the video. It is 30 Newton meters for stage 1, and then there's a pattern, and then 120 degrees. So now we're going to torque the same sequence, but 120 degree rotation. Ready, steady. Oh, heavy, heavy, heavy. No, 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 no. Where's my wood? Okay. Now we can torque this. Of course, I've already ruined it. So we went 20, so let's go another 100. Okay. That is 1, 2. Remember, 120 degrees. According to the torque wrench, going 120 degrees is equal to 105 Newton meters. Time to use some quality material. A Mercedes-Benz high-speed grease. Anti-friction bearing grease. You know what makes it great? It is neon green. But I'm just going to throw some in here on the pilot bearing. That boy needs as much help as it can get. With everything that's been through. Just can't hurt. Blessed by a Mercedes product. Shout out to Herman. He's working on a Flywheel clutch adapter kit. I assume it'll be fantastic because the clutch feel on the F-Type is not that great. And a little bit stiffer clutch would be good. A little better engagement. And then finally, the shifter feel is a little mushy. So I assume a short shifter would really fix things up. But thank you, Herman. Thank you for all the help. Moving on. Let's get the clutch on and the pressure plate. So another thing I had to kind of work on was I 3D printed a clutch alignment tool. So it goes into the pilot bearing and then it allows the clutch to be centered while you're mounting on the pressure plate. Just like this. And then into the pilot bearing. Slides right on. Look at that. This clutch is not the best. And it'll be fine for now. We want to make sure the car works first, and then we can replace this. These are all 10mm bolts. So we're going to go to 25 foot-pounds, or about 34 Newton meters. I think that should be okay. That's kind of the general torque spec that people are using, at least what I saw online. And they just want to go in a crisscross pattern. Okay, and then you just pull out the alignment tool. Next up is to remove the flywheel lock, and then we will be reinstalling the crankshaft position sensor and then bolting on the transmission. This time I made sure not to pinch myself when it's coming up. There's still time to pinch myself, but we're okay for now. Another side note, the transmission's not horribly heavy. It's just I'm by myself and it's kind of late and I don't really want to be struggling with this since I have so much more work to be doing here afterwards. Okay, I got a bolt in. We're on to something. Hopefully that'll be enough to bring it. Okay. Splines are engaged. Yay! It's on. How well is it on? Let's find out. Well enough for me to torque things down. Next up, it's to do up all the bell housing bolts. I have the diagram on my iPad up there, so I can know where all the brackets go. But let's get to it. Okay, let's get the starter in. Why are you there? Woo! The bottom bolt is a bolt and a nut, and then the ground strap as well. But it goes from the engine through to the transmission. The transmission is threaded. And then once the threads poke out on the other side, then you put on the ground strap. Okay, let's reassemble what was on the starter. So the positive lead. So let's get to torquing. All the bell housing bolts are torqued to 48 Newton meters. The only unique size is the ground strap nut. It is a 15 millimeter. Okay, now we can put the shield on the starter. Now we do some wire management. So we have this metal bracket, which goes to the back of the transmission. So let's just put that on right away. These two bolts are torqued to 12 Newton meters. So we push that wiring loom on the bell housing. Follow it along the transmission. Very cool. I like how Jag did that. Does this go here? That one goes there. This goes under the bell housing. I will just leave it out for now because once it's in the car I can do that. Okay. What's that? And it's got a little holder. So it's now on the holder. Cool. This connector for the gear selector or gear indicator. Locked. Okay. And then we kind of do the same thing on this side. Nothing special, just popping them in the holes. And then again on this side we have a same bracket as that guy right there. 2 bolts and they're 12 Newton meter torque specs. Oh, 2 sensors on this side. It has a metal tab on the left side. It has little pushing clips like that. That all plugs into this box that's at the bottom, junction, whatever. Cool. Dare I say it's time to put this contraption back in the FType. Let's make FType great again. Other than this blue. Nobody likes that. Smurf blue. Okay. Once again, when we're going in, we're going to have to bolt on the downpipes or the catalytic converters. So that might take a little bit. Not to be anticlimactic, but it might be time to do these bad boys. Now if I can only remember what side is which. Correct side, so this is L, and this is not L. We are on R. There's a lot of stuff we still have to do. Next. Next. If you are a Jaguar certified technician, cover your eyes.